We are now in what is known as a disseminating moon phase. And you might go, what the hell does that mean? Very simply, that means that not this past new moon, but the one before that. And personally, myself, I like to go all the way back 6 months because how are you going to learn the entirety of anything without time? Okay. And nobody makes that clear online. Nobody. Really. If you go look, they're just going to tell you about what you should have learned from the new moon phase 2 weeks ago, well, now three, to now, which is disseminating moon. And well, that's not enough time to have learned any kind of lesson. So we're just going to go with my old standby, which is 6 months ago when the moon was new in Libra. From that time until this past weekend when it came full in Libra, okay, that is the time where back at the new moon in Libra, there were things that you wanted to accomplish or things that you needed to make right, balance, bring together, unite, everything that has to do with Libra. And since then, until now, things have happened in the course of time that would cause it where all these things that give us a lot of feeling of hamajang, a lot of feeling of pain in the okoli, a lot of what the fuck. By the time the full moon comes around, right, we come to the end of that phase, and within those couple days, we do get surprised, either happily or not so happily, or things we wanted to know back then. During the new moon phase, if you thought about, hey, I like to know about this. And then during the 6 months, you went and did without even thinking about it. If it really meant something to you, you went and did everything that you did in order to culminate, something that would tell you by the full moon in Libra that you're on the right track, right? Okay. So all that time you're going through all the ups and downs, all the shit, all the cursing and all of the good, all of the bad. And each time you went through that, within that 6 month new moon to full moon phase in the same sign, you were learning things. You were going and calling your friends. I get plenty of people was calling me, oh my God, Roxanne, what are we going to do? And of course, it's a phone call, that's videos, that's chats, that's texting, that's posting in my group, answering those questions. So that throughout that phase up to full moon, people know what to look for. And, you don't feel so strange in those times because you now know what it is that's going on. And people don't seem to think that when you're making wishes, as ridiculous as a term I believe that to be, when you're intending change, when you're trying to manifest change, we are all so inclined to only see the good. Well, even when things feel crappy, if you learn, that's good. Because why? My bet is that you're not going to go back to that same method of being, of doing, of thinking, of having, of whatever. Okay, so in a 6 months time is very personal because everything you're thinking, seeing, feeling, perceiving, expressing comes from an internal level. It comes from yourself. And when you express whatever is in that internal level to other people, they give you feedback, good or bad. You have a feeling about it. That's all mechanism of the moon and its phases and the sign it is in. All this counts. Okay. So you're going through all that, and then you get to the end of that new moon, the full moon phase, and you get a couple days afterwards. Right now it's 2 days after the full moon in Libra to, Scorpio. And we learned a lot. If you go look at the news, you go back 6 months, you come back to now, you will see that. Okay, you got to really look. You cannot go, oh, never jump out at me. It isn't going to. Okay, my hair is driving my nose crazy. Anyhow, so after the full moon, there comes what is known as a dissemination period. And to make that a little bit easier for people who don't know what that means, it's not bad if you don't know what that means. To disseminate means to dispense. It means to spread the seed biblically. It means when a farmer sees that there's a disseminate moon, after a full moon, he knows there's still things that have to be, planned, prepped, planted, pulled, composted. He knows all this. But in between that time, there's time to disseminate all of what you learned during that 6 months. And now here you are with all this knowledge of what you do need and what you don't need and what you do want, what you don't want. And now you have this time to go and share with other people what you learned during this time. Sometimes, the full moon doesn't bring us all these great things. If you were blessed, if you had a pretty good full moon time, most kids did. This past full moon was Easter, the Easter holiday. And, you will probably be really, really feeling like gifting other people things, yeah? And, some just kind of landed right in the middle where you're going, okay, this happened, that happened, what am I going to do next? And then there are some of us who didn't have that great of a time, and the outcome at the end, even though we know it's part of the process, it's part of getting us to where we need to be so that we are happy, so that we see our life unfolding as we planned it according to the moon phase. So the in-between time, right after the full moon, during the beginning part of the waning phase, in other words, it's shrinking now, the moon is growing smaller, headed back to new moon, okay? It's in that time where everything you learned can't be taken away, okay? Those lessons are yours. What you learned is yours. How you disseminate what you learned, how you tell other people and share about what you learned is up to you. I bring up farmers because, I look at the Farmer's Almanac. And just looking at that, I can imagine, my Hawaiian family in Hawaii gathering one kind of harvest while preparing for the next one, and they sharing what they have, they're sharing what has grown. That is what this point is all about today. April 11th. Today is the disseminating moon. It's in Sagittarius, I think. It's in Scorpio and Sagittarius. One of those two. I'm pretty sure it's Sagittarius. Anyhow. And, from that, we have all of this harvest of knowledge, harvest of information. We also have the clearing of the chaff. There I go with the biblical stuff again. We know now exactly at this point in the moon phase, new moon 6 months ago, full moon this past weekend, we know what we've learned. We know what we know. Well, we better know what we know. It's been 6 months. If somebody hasn't learned, it's probably really a choice. Okay, I got lots of friends who that is the way that, they do things. I don't fault them for it. They don't know about all these things. They do, but they don't. And I use that example as there are people who will know, will get all this knowledge and do, Buffalingish with it, nothing. They will do not a damn thing with it. And then little while down the line, they're wondering why things are so hard. Why it feels like all the time they got somebody's shoe up their okole and they cannot get it out. First of all, pull a bugger out. Simple. Yes, it's going to be painful. Why? Well, because you've had to sit on that damn shoe in your okole this long, and all you did was shift around, shift around. Why should you shift? Pull it out. Throw them away. What did you learn? That you do not like a shoe in your butt. Simple. It's a horribly crude explanation, but that is the truth. It is the same thing with Mercury retrograde. Okay, my last video was, I think, about Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is not a time for us to go hide. It's not. It's time for us to, oh, wow, I've been doing this for a long time. What can I do about it? Do I need it still? If you know the answer is, I don't need it, start working the process of figuring out, taking action, not just sitting there going, oh, I know. Great, Lovely. Libraries are filled with books where people knew everything they're talking about is in a book. Nobody looks at the book. Same thing. So when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to dissemination of that knowledge and sharing what you learned, do it now. That's what now is for. Time to rest. You know that you still got to go figure out what you're going to do with everything you learned. But right now, while the moon is in a disseminating phase, it's probably a good idea. In fact, I tell anybody, okay, you learned this. Now what? What you going to do with that? You're like, tell Auntie. I will tell you. I'll give you all kind of good ideas. But if you don't tell somebody, if you don't share your knowledge, you don't go teach, I'm not going to go and say, well, you've wasted your time. I'm going to say, there's one more thing that you need to learn. You need to learn how to share what you now know. Because why? Otherwise, it's going to be like one book in the library that nobody wants to read. Ends up over there in the dollar section when you go buy books at the library. And what you know is worth more than $1, isn't it? So that's what you do. Couple days afterwards, you rest, you think, you figure out what you're going to do with everything you learned. And then you go do it. Because why? New moon is coming back. Aries, Taurus, April 19th. Got plenty of stuff going on that couple days, including, Mercury retrograde, Taurus sun, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so disseminating moon, that's pretty much how you do it. I'll see you next time. Mahalo for watching. Oh yeah, subscribe, follow, go tell everybody this auntie, she's out of her mind, but she means well. Aloha. See you next time.